Hey guys, welcome to the It's Really Not That Deep podcast.
It's never that deep. So I'm Haley and this is Joelle. We've been friends for, I counted this the other day actually, and I'm pretty sure it's been 9 years.
How old are we now? We were 12 then, we're 22 now. It's at least 10.
So we've been friends for 10 years. Welcome to episode one. Basically, we started this podcast because we see each other every single day pretty much, and all we do is yap and we talk about gossip, we talk about life, and a lot of stuff is actually kind of informative in some sense. We're both 22, just living in our 20s, and we just wanted to have some fun together.
Me and Haley used to be roommates, and so we're having a little bit of separation anxiety. So we kind of needed a reason to get together every week and just talk.
Because we
So,
don't do that enough.
and like she said, we've gotten good feedback from you guys on our talking sessions. So here we are.
If we're gonna be honest with each other, this ain't our first rodeo. This is our second time filming this episode. Unfortunately, my mic didn't work, and then we had to get new mics, and it was a whole process. So here we are again, hopefully back better than ever. Let's pray.
Just know how much effort we're putting into this so you guys can have good quality content. So,
You better appreciate it.
today's episode is going to be 10 things to live by. So, Haley made this list in summer of 2021 when we were 19, peaking in life.
We were 19,
How old did you think we were?
not 19.
Younger?
Yeah, maybe I just feel like a lot's changed since then.
A lot has changed since then.
Yeah, I guess.
But we were major before our time with this list because we still live by these things. And so we compiled the 10 best messages to give to you guys.
And throughout the rest of the episodes, I'm sure we'll sprinkle in a little bit of the others because just because these are the top 10 doesn't mean they're not all fire.
No, we might have a part two.
We should have a part two.
Okay. So, number one is trust in the universe and manifest. So, during this peak summer, me and Haley were manifesting everything. We were teaching everybody how to manifest. We were literal manifestation queens. I think it's safe to say that since then, we have both fallen off of our game a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I almost negatively manifested today, and I wanted to tell you, but I was gonna save it for here, and I was honestly embarrassed. I'm like, I know we're filming this today, and I know we're about to talk about manifestation, and I literally like
And what happened?
I was just saying like this is gonna happen and this is gonna happen, all bad things, and I'm like, why would I do this?
Why would you put that out there?
Right? Why?
So, anyway, that summer we just discovered manifestation. We were like saying crazy stuff, like stuff that like wasn't really realistic, but it would just keep happening. And we realized the energy you put out there is the energy you get back. So, like Haley said, if you're like, oh, my life sucks, like your life's gonna suck.
You need to put out into the universe even those like unrealistic things that you're like, what am I even thinking right now? Sometimes you're just gonna look back and you're gonna be like, it happened.
And we're not saying life is perfect and you can manifest a perfect life. You have to go through hard things, but the universe sends you these hard things so you can learn and grow. And she knows what she's doing, and she is a she.
She is a she.
Most good things are.
Preach. I was watching Vanderpump Rules the other day because Live Love EPR. Lisa Vanderpump, the queen of all queens, said, if you want a man to do something, nope. If you want something said, ask a man. And if you want something done, ask a woman. And come on, is there anything else more true than that? So the second thing to live by, and personally my favorite, confidence is a good look. Everyone's insecure. It doesn't matter if you're insecure about your looks, if you're insecure about your academics, about anything, you're always going to be insecure, and that's kind of inevitable. It's going to happen. Whether, whoever you are, you're going to be insecure. But the key to confidence is to fake it till you make it. Sometimes you're going to walk into a room and be like, what am I doing here? And all you have to do is put your shoulders back, put a little smile on, and just pretend that you belong. If you pretend you belong, then you do.
It's so true. And once you start to show up like a person who belongs there, you start to believe it. And then, like, your whole world just transforms. This is something that through the podcast, Haley is going to teach you a lot about because she's taught me everything I know about confidence. I also used to be quite insecure, and through living with me for 4 years, Haley saw those things too and really helped me overcome them just by learning the art of confidence.
And not to say that it's like as easy as pretending, like it's not. Let's be real here. It does take a lot of practice, and sometimes I walk into a room and I still go, "What am I doing here?" And that's probably never gonna change. And I think once you learn that enough or ingrain that enough, then it does end up sticking. And the biggest thing that I've come out from learning how to be more confident is that like confidence attracts confidence. When people see that you're confident, they are so much more drawn to you, like all the time.
And truly confident people like just like themselves. And if you become confident and you actually like yourself, even you may feel uncomfortable in certain situations, but if you're with you and you trust you and you love you, it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of other aspects of your life a lot easier.
Number three is that you're always going to be the villain in someone else's story, so just live your life. This is so true. You're always going to be doing something wrong in someone's eyes. So as long as you're living up to your morals and standards and the people around you think that you're doing well, you're doing well.
And not everyone's gonna like you. I don't think everyone likes me. I don't like everyone.
And only take advice from people that you would switch places with because a lot of people love to give their unsolicited advice. And especially in our developing brains, we'll take in everyone's opinions as if they matter. There's too much going around in your head, and you don't need that. Trust yourself, trust the people closest to you, and act accordingly.
It's okay if not everyone likes you. So often, people are so concerned and their mind just doesn't stop thinking about if I do this and this person will think this and that will happen with this. Who cares? If someone doesn't like you, let them not like you.
This is something I've always struggled with, as you know, because I'm a people pleaser, and part of my identity is being nice and being liked and pleasing everyone. And going on this journey of like letting that go finally is very freeing, very important to your self development and growth. Because again, like if you're not living for you and you're living to please other people, even at the sacrifice of yourself, that is wrong.
Because at the end of the day, it's you living your own life. These people aren't living a life for you. It's you have one life, you have one experience, this experience of life, it's all yours. So, kind of moving in to my next point, while kind of combining it with this one, is it's really, really important to find people who lift you up with every decision you make. I'm going to say this and now I'm going to disagree with myself.
Contradictory.
That's the word. So, of course, you want to find people who lift you up with every decision you make. And of course, like, if Joelle's making a horrible decision, I'm gonna call her out for making a horrible decision. Don't get me wrong, I love doing it. Being a good friend sometimes is being able to identify when someone is ready to hear something that sometimes people aren't ready to hear what they need to hear. So at the end of the day, it's kind of up to them to figure that out. And I think something that I also learned from living together with Joel for so long, when one friend is in something that another friend doesn't necessarily agree on, does become kind of something in between.
Yeah.
And I found by closer to the end of your second relationship, some people would like ask me like, why do you just kind of like let it, or like why are you like okay with it? And like I'm obviously not okay to watch you be hurt and watch you make a decision that's not the best decision for you, but at the end of the day it's not my decision to make. You've made your decision and you're going to keep making your decision. So if I don't somewhat support that decision, then it's only going to end up hurting our friendship. We have been in situations where different situations have hurt our friendship, but if I didn't want that to happen and I didn't want anything to come between us, then I had to be okay with that and support you, even when maybe I don't agree with that.
Yeah. That was really well said. I don't even think it's like about supporting your friends, and that wasn't
Yeah.
the point. It was just like find people who uplift you, but again, contradictory because it's okay for you not always to be in agreement with your friends and what they're doing, but at the end of the day, you just have to be there for them. Like if it's someone you love and they're not making the right choices and they're not making the right decisions in this stage of life, like we all make mistakes, we all go through hard things, and it's hard to navigate when you're young, and having friends that are there for you no matter what, there's nothing. Nothing like that. Nothing more important and nothing more meaningful. So make sure you have those people in your life and be that person in someone else's life.
I've been in a few friendships where good things will happen to me, to them, and it's not a competition. Like, I don't think it could be a competition. Yeah, it definitely could be a
Yeah.
competition. But I find that when you surround yourself with people who don't celebrate your wins together or don't aren't sad when you're sad or different things like that, then they're not really true friends.
No.
I think what I learned a lot from just growing up and being friends with different people is that I like if something good happens to you, I'm like the first person to be so happy for you. Like I want to see the best in you and I want to see the best in the people I love. And if someone in your life doesn't show that for you, then they're sorry to say they shouldn't stay in your life forever, one. And two, they won't be your best friend forever.
We've both experienced those people, and we've probably both been those people at times in our life. And it's like a sense of insecurity in yourself.
I was totally that person in the friendship too.
Yeah. And I think because we are self aware and we have psychoeducation, we understand these things. And like having someone in your life who does that, it's tricky because they can be so not fake, but like fake. But really, they are envious and they are kind of preying on your downfall.
Hmm.
And it's really sad. It's really sad to identify that in a friend and like where do you go from there?
And I think part of the way to identify that in a friend is by gaining confidence in yourself. Yeah. So my next point is said by, I don't know if someone else said this before, but what I heard is it's from Theo Vaughn, and it's nothing changes if nothing changes. Sometimes when you reach a certain age, you get to a point where things stop being as certain. So right now, we graduated school, our next move isn't certain, everyone around us is doing different things, and it's really easy to fall into a rut and kind of not know what to do with your life. And that often like comes down negatively on you. You start kind of feeling sorry for yourself, you start getting insecure about different things. And I think it's really important to make those small changes and be able to impact your life in small ways to then gradually create those bigger changes that will come with that.
Yeah. And with this, like, no one's coming to save you. Like Haley said in the past, we've always had the next step to go to with school and whatever we do in the summers. But now it's really up to us to create our own lives. And it's so important to be taking risks at this time. Like, we're never going to have as little responsibility as we do right now. So there's really no excuse for not taking risks. And I'm like talking to ourselves here.
I was watching this podcast. Not that's such a lie. That's so embarrassing. But I
Is it
would
TikTok?
yes, it was completely TikTok. I watched a TikTok yesterday. Shout out Sam Doll. She was saying that it's so funny. She now that she's 30, looking back and seeing like 20-year-olds and herself as well, like being like, wow, I thought I was so old. I thought like my world was complete when I was 20. She's like, hell no. Like your 20s are to figure it out. They're for failing, they're for succeeding, they're for doing all these things that I think we almost forget to do.
Yeah.
Um, I think both of us like definitely have experienced in the past year like major changes and things that wouldn't have happened unless we kind of had to put ourselves out there to get there. Um, I know like you just went through a breakup if you want to talk about that at all.
So, guys, yeah, I went through a breakup about a month ago, still going through it. And at the beginning of that, Haley said to me something along the lines of something needs to change. Like, you got to level up your life pretty much. And I took that in my mind as it's time to sort of jump timelines and start a new chapter of my life. And all this love and energy that was directed at my ex, I put back into myself. And already in the past month, like I feel like aspects of my life have flourished because I put my attention to it. I feel like a lot of people in our age range who have just graduated university feel so lost and so unfulfilled. And it makes me so sad to say. And I'm like, well, what are you actively doing to make your
Change
life
that.
better? And it's not an easy thing, but we've seen how much,
It
like,
can benefit ourselves.
yeah, directing your energy to improving your life. And you just talked about manifesting. and how once you have a clear image of what you want your life to look like, you can actually start taking steps towards that. Like, I feel like we go forward on autopilot so often, especially at this new life stage, but every life stage from now on is new. Nothing's
Yeah.
going to be familiar for the rest of our lives, which is scary and uncertain, but that's life. And you have to have some sort of vision to be able to move forward and take steps in the right direction. And if it's not the right direction, you pivot, you figure it out, you make mistakes. That's what your 20s are for.
And not saying I'm not lost, because I'm still lost. Like,
Same.
yeah. We're both probably going to be lost for the next 10 years. At least we'll be lost together, or at least I'll be lost and you can watch. Me and Joel together, I think, have gone through a lot of changes and separately. We started at one university 4 years ago and decided that university wasn't for us for reasons we're not going to get into in this episode. So we changed universities, we transferred universities, and let me tell you, it wasn't an easy process, and I wouldn't recommend it. Kidding, I totally would. It was a great decision. It was just a pain in the ass. But that was a big change, and it was really hard, and there was definitely difficulties that came with it. But if we didn't take that leap, then who knows where we would have been now. And I think, like, it's so important to, like, even remember your past, like, when did I do something? When did I take a risk? And did it fail? And if it did fail, did I learn something from it? And how did that look now? Because of transferring, I was really burnt out. I was not motivated. I hated school. I hated a lot of things to do with like academics. I felt very insecure about what's the word?
Intelligent?
Yeah. I felt very insecure about my intelligence. And my parents kept being like, what are you going to do next? Are you going to apply to school? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I cannot even think about school. Like, if I think about school, I'm going to lose my marbles. Yeah. So I didn't. And I decided I'm not going to go back to school right away. I'm going to take a break. And that's really hard to do. And it's really hard to judge yourself, feel like other people are judging around you and feeling like you're falling behind. So I did it anyways. And I ended up moving for 6 months this year. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. I highly recommend anyone do that. Obviously, you don't need to move. Like, that's dramatic. And, like, not everyone needs the drama. But, like, do something. Like, take risks. Your 20s is a time to take risks.
Yeah, it is. And you don't need a big drastic life change to like implement these things. You're the only person that spends your entire life with you. Boyfriends come and go, friends hopefully never go, but you're the only person that's confirmed with you day in and day out all the time. And if you're not enjoying your life, that like reflect.
What are you doing, girl?
What are you doing? And Haley traveled the world, queen. I go on walks every morning, whatever.
Can't relate. It is what it is. I could never do that. I'm bad at it.
No, I'm not saying like, oh my god, look at me. I'm saying like,
it's like you're turning into me all of a sudden.
It doesn't have like. Just do something. Just do something. Move across the world. If you have that in you, that's what you should do.
But if you don't, and still small changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. It's not that deep.
Well, that one is that deep, actually.
Yeah.
That's deep. Number 6, I feel like we've kind of already covered this, so we'll just make it quick. But you're the only you. Like I just said, you're the only one who spends your whole life with you. It's your life. You need to make sure you're living it for you. And unapologetically, be yourself. And if you're around people who are bringing you down and make you feel like you have to be another way, they're just not the right people. It's better to be in your own company and feel authentic than faking it around people who, no.
Aren't worth your time.
Aren't worth your time. As we get older, something that I've been finding really important is self-awareness. And like, no one's perfect. Everyone has their flaws. But if you can know what those things are and accept what...
I was just going to say, I think I'm a self-aware queen, but it's fine.
I'm not saying you're not self-aware. Who said you're not self-aware? I said it's important to be self-aware.
I know.
I agree that you're self-aware.
I know. I was just trying to like...
Yeah. She's a queen.
I'm just obsessed with myself.
But... as I was saying...
after you were rudely interrupted.
You have to acknowledge these things about yourself, and you have to accept them and learn to live with them, because unless you can change things, which a lot of times you can't, they're not going anywhere, and so you have to just become friends with all the parts of you to wholly love yourself. They don't all have to be perfect, but you got to accept it. Otherwise, they're just there and you're acting subconsciously, and then you're gonna do some weird shit that you don't want to do.
Yeah. You never want to do weird shit you don't want to do, else you look like a fool.
No, only weird shit you do want to do, and we fully support that.
Because I do that shit. Yeah, I totally agree, of course. I think something that sort of relates, sort of doesn't, is a part of being self-aware is also being able to have humility. Humility, right word, right word. Go Haley. So just a little backstory on my role in a friend group. I think that quite often I'm that friend that gets made fun of. I get picked on. My friends call me a mouse. Like, what
It's
more
all
can
love,
I say?
by the way.
Yeah, whatever. All love. But I do have to say, not to like put myself on a pedestal or anything.
Never.
Never. Um, Not everyone could be that friend. Because the minute someone else that isn't always in that role gets put in that role, they're a little bitch about it. And they cannot take a joke. Do you agree?
I can't take a joke.
I wasn't gonna say anything. Well, like you can
Self-aware.
you can definitely take a joke more than you used to be able to take a joke. I think sometimes even like I talk to Joelle like at least 18 times a day. Like we talk every day. And there'll still be days and times when we're together and I'll say something. I'm not someone that holds back. I love to make fun of people and I love to make people uncomfortable. It's just who I am. So I'll say something like making fun of Joelle and she still sometimes like doesn't realize that I'm joking. Is that true?
I do realize I just have to make sure. Like, you're lucky that I'm saying something. In the past, I would have just held the grudge and gotten mad at you. So just be thankful.
Yeah, and you know I'm happy to validate your feelings always. But I'm like, Joelle, you're my only friend. I can't risk actually getting upset with you.
No, we're good. Don't worry.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to my humility point. So I think it's super important to be able to have that. I think it's a really good quality to have. And I think in part of that is recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses. Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of weaknesses, even though I don't bring them up so much. And I think once you have humility in smaller aspects of your life, such as when your friends make fun of you, it in turn allows you to excel in different aspects. So, for example, I'm thinking in a professional aspect, I had a really hard time getting feedback. I found that I took it really personally and I took it as an attack. But I guess like over the years and maturing and just being more self-aware, being able to have humility and being able to take constructive feedback, I think is so important to actually use it to grow, to improve, rather than taking that as kind of a dig. And I think without having that humility aspect and without having that confidence and like you're the only you mindset, then it's really hard to get there.
Well, that reminds me of the whole like growth versus fixed mindset idea. And you need to have a growth mindset. Like, if you don't have a growth mindset, you're really holding yourself back in life. You have to be able to take criticism and grow. Like, you're not perfect. No one's perfect. Oh my God.
I knew you were gonna say that.
If you can't accept that, and if someone comes to you and they give you constructive criticism to try to help you and you get defensive and you can be hurt, it's okay. Any emotion is valid. But if you can't take that to better yourself, then you're really at a disadvantage. And by being able to do that, it really shows how secure you are in yourself because you accept that it's okay to not know everything and not always succeed immediately. But if you keep working at it and you have a growth mindset, you're always going to get better. It opens up a lot of opportunities.
It's okay not to be the smartest person in the room. You could learn a lot from those other smarter people.
It's better to not be the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, that's a great line.
My dad always says that.
So my next point, number 7, people come in your life for a specific time and a specific purpose, a specific reason, and sometimes that purpose and that reason ends and they exit your life, and that's okay. And I think change is very, very hard. Change is inevitable. Was that the word?
Yup. Right pronunciation too.
Oh, baby. Okay, anyway, so yeah, change is inevitable. It's gonna happen. I find that I struggled a lot with this. I think everyone does. It's the same as when you go through a breakup, when you go through a friendship breakup, when you change jobs or anything. It's really hard to move on to that different thing. Um, I think in my life, a lot of people have come into my life to teach me different things. And I think it's really crazy because as much as you are the only you, you are kind of um, a combination or a mix of everyone you've kind of ever encountered. For example, something as small as someone ordering a Starbucks drink and you take that drink, and every time you go to order Starbucks, you remember that. Or if you are in a relationship and you have a lot more of those situations, but people are there for a reason, and I think it's super important to acknowledge that it's okay for people to leave. That doesn't mean that you're wrong, they're wrong. It just means that their time has come to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also really like kind of beautiful how many people can have an impact in your
Yeah.
life in so many ways. And I think something that I'm trying to really tell myself right now is like, she does things for a reason, the universe. But when one door closes, another one opens. And it's so cliche, but like it's also very true. And I feel like in the past, we've seen that in friendships and relationships. And like sometimes you need to make room for something else. And sometimes that interim can feel very lonely and very sad and very senseless. But it always makes sense in the end. Like when you look back, it makes sense. Everything just comes together. It always has. So why wouldn't it continue to?
Yeah, and, like, even today, I was in a little grumpy mood, and I was just feeling sorry for myself as when I was manifesting bad things for myself, but I was just sad, and I was like, "Why?" Like, I just want a boyfriend. If anyone wants to date me, hit me up. Anyways, had to put that out there. But I'm like, "Why is it so hard to find someone?" Like, I just feel lonely, winter here in Canada sucks, and, like, even just looking back at my old relationship, like, I was in a relationship, and I think when I dated my ex at the time, it was exactly what I needed. Um, Joelle was gone for a lot of the time at school, and I was lonely, and I needed someone there, and he came, and he came for the perfect time, and then at some point, he wasn't serving me anymore, and it took me a long time to figure that one out, and don't get me wrong, I was literally the worst person ever going through a breakup, I will acknowledge that. Um but now, like, looking back, I really, like, can see it for what it was.
He really served his purpose. It
Yeah.
was really important that he be there and he taught you a lot. And he also taught you how to exist on your own. Like when you
Yeah.
go through a breakup, a week before my breakup happened, I was like, oh my God, like I wouldn't survive if he broke up with
Isn't
me.
it funny how things turn out?
Literally.
And now look at you.
Yeah, but like I'm fine and I'll always be fine. I was talking about this with my therapist today. Hard times in your life really show you who's there for you and what's there for you and what you can always fall back on. Number one should be yourself. And if it's not, you've got work to do. But it's really nice to be grateful for the things that you do have in your life, especially when shit hits the fan.
Did you say that or did she?
Me.
Oh, you're so smart.
Thanks.
Yeah. And all that come to say, go to therapy. If you ever wonder how I got to any of this in my life, it was therapy. Me and my good friend Margot, she got
I
me here.
sorry.
No?
I really back therapy and I think it's really important. I also think that a lot can be done internally and by talking to like other close people in your life. Just if you have benefits, there's no reason for you not to be in therapy. Sorry, but if you don't, there's other ways as well. And I think that a combination of both is really useful. So listen to some podcasts and talk to some people.
Yeah, but if you can go to therapy, you should go to
Yeah, no, I
therapy.
just did say
Yeah, I
that.
just have to like really emphasize that.
Yeah.
Psych majors over here.
Also, you're never worse off from a situation. Even if you feel like you are and you feel like somebody came in your life and was a literal curse or a situation was a literal curse, and it does feel like that sometimes.
Sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are, but you're always learning and growing. It always ends up being to your benefit, even if you can't see it now. And if that's what's the word? Toxic positivity. Like if that's like too much optimism, whatever. Whatever.
Fake it till you make
Fake
it.
it. Thank you. Number 8 is that your biggest battle is believing that all your thoughts are true. So, this is something that I only recently learned, which is crazy. And it's the idea that we have so many thoughts in a day. So many. Especially when you're an overthinker. me over here. And up until a couple weeks ago, I didn't realize that none of those thoughts were true. I just took them all equally, pretty much. Now I understand that my brain is so like our brains are so large and there's so much going on and there's so much firing happening and like it's okay to have a thought and just let it go. Just observe it. Maybe look into why it's there, but it doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to hold any weight. It doesn't have to cause anxiety. And we're so wired to think negatively, or I used to be. I used to have thoughts and I would believe all the negative ones because those were the ones that would like arouse me emotionally. Like they would make me heightened. And so I would think about them more. And that became my reality because you spiral and what you put your attention to grows. And so once I realized this concept, I started like forcing myself to think positive thoughts with affirmations and just like saying good things to myself. And now my mind is more wired than it used to be to think positive thoughts. And that just creates a much better existence.
Yeah, and truthfully, like in the world we live in now with the media and social media, especially TikTok, even though I'm avid supporter, um, every I think people love to hate and people love to be negative. It's almost hard not to think those thoughts and believe those thoughts when it's literally every single place you look in the world right now. And like whether that's on like an individual level or a world level, like there's so much shit's hit the fan and it's really easy to fall into that negative thought pattern.
It really is. And then they like become your core beliefs, which is really sad. The more you think things, like the more real they become. So, if you're struggling with this, something that's again really helped me these past few weeks is shifting my focus from the past and the future into the present moment. The present moment is literally all that exists. The past doesn't exist right now. The future doesn't exist right now. You're creating your reality right now. And if you're living in the past, you're depressed. If you're living in the future, you're anxious. And it's so important to just live in the now and enjoy your life, create your life.
And I honestly think that, like, as easy as that sounds, I think it's one of the hardest things to do. Like, it is so hard to live in the present, especially when a million things are going on at all times. I think one thing that's really important to learn a skill is to compartmentalize. Oh my God, I just killed that word,
You
didn't
did.
I?
You really did.
I know I did. Anyway, so if you don't know what it means to compartmentalize is to imagine you close your eyes, you take that negative thought or that thing that's really irking you, and you just put it in a box. Take the box and just shove it in the corner for now. Not saying that you're never going to remember it again because you probably will remember it again. But for the present moment, whatever you're doing, take that box, move it to the side, and say, I will come back to that later.
The more you try to practice this, the easier it becomes, the more habitual it becomes.
Wow, that's a big word.
The other night, we were out at the bar and we were standing in the cold, and I was like, oh, like I miss my ex boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And then I literally had a conversation with myself in my head. I was like, it's okay. That's an okay feeling, but is it useful now? Is it getting you anywhere? You're here with your friends, there's music playing. You're going to be home later if you want to think about it then on your own. But I shifted myself back into that present moment, knowing that, like you said, it's in the box. I can pick it back out later, but I don't need it now. And I really shifted into the present and gratitude. Like, oh my God, I have friends to be out with. I have the city to be living in. I have a house to go back to. Like, there are so many things in all of our lives to be grateful for that we just don't pay attention to. And once you start shifting your mind to the present and to gratitude, I swear your life gets better. It just does.
Yeah. And I do think in a lot of ways, like something that you're good at, I don't think I'm so good at, is like you're very good at looking at the big picture sometimes. When you do, you're good at it. um, but for those who aren't as good at it, you don't have to think about like it's very hard to forget those things, like or for me at least, when you're living with something or when you have this thought in your brain that won't leave and you're trying to think of all the things you're grateful for and you start thinking about like, oh, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for the house I live in. Of course, like I'm 100% grateful for all those things. I don't want to sound like I'm not. But it's doesn't help me, I think, because I think it's just so broad. Sometimes, like, you just need to think of little things, like, I'm in a cute outfit, like, again, like what you said, there's music playing around me. When do I get to go downtown with my friends? How off like, this will be another hour or 2. Just try to think of the little things in the present moment, try to ground yourself, just look around, see what's going on, even, like, name those things that are going on around you, and really stick yourself in the present.
That's a great point. I think also, though, if you can form habits around these two things, it's crazy. Like, I don't even do this, but I recommend, like, if you wake up in the morning and your first thought is 3 things you're grateful for, you're not already in a negative state that you have to pull yourself out of and think about what you're grateful for. You're, like, priming your mind to be grateful and to be happy. I have an app on my phone that sends me affirmations, like, 5 times a day, and not every time I get the notification, but a lot of the times I will read it out loud and I will think about how it resonates to me. And if it doesn't, I'll think about if I want it to. And then that's something for me to work towards. And it just like keeps me focused on what
Grounded,
matters to
yeah.
me, which is happiness and a good and fulfilled life.
So our next point is that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Maybe this isn't always the best advice, but I think it's good enough advice to add. A lot of times, asking for permission and waiting for that permission will just slow you down. Sometimes you just gotta do the thing.
We're not suggesting you do outlandish things, but what we noticed is at camp, which was our summer job, I'm a big ask for permission girl. So I was always asking for permission about like the littlest things that I knew if I did them, like I wouldn't really get in trouble, but like someone might say no to me. And I kept getting told no. And I was like, why do I ask? And I'm just going to do it anyway. Now I'll get in trouble because I asked and I was told
Now you look
no.
like an idiot.
Exactly. So we really learned well, I learned my lesson. Haley always knew. But it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, it's not that I always knew, it's that I just did it because I lack consequence.
So you also learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will have to admit, that doesn't always work out in your favor. Like, I do remember something that I did, last time I was at camp that wasn't probably the right decision, but I did it anyways because I thought might as well ask for forgiveness, even though I didn't even think I'd have to ask for forgiveness, but I did. And I was wrong in the situation, admittedly. I kind of went against someone that I shouldn't have done, and I felt bad about it. I felt like an idiot. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I didn't have bad intentions as much as it looked like I did. Um, so I apologized,
What did you do?
which I shouldn't have done.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, guys, make mistakes. Use your judgment, though. Obviously, we're not suggesting you just go crazy, but
And one other thing, don't take this advice if you don't know how to apologize. One thing that I really, really learned is I never think I'm wrong. Most of the time, I don't think I'm wrong. Even when I'm wrong, I don't think I'm wrong. Just apologize. Fake it till you make it. Like, people really, um, listen, or like they really appreciate an apology. People just want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want to hear that you hear them. And that's all you have to do. So if you can't apologize, don't do the thing.
you have to know how to properly fake it. We have a friend who's like,
Yeah.
sorry. Like, that's not gonna work. You have to, like, empathize a little bit. Just be like, okay, I pissed this person off. I actually am sorry. But if you're not, just fake it well.
Okay, just a quick little 101 on how to apologize. All you have to do, okay? This is like I have another point, which I'm not going to add into the episode because it's kind of silly, but it's manipulate the manipulator.
Oh, so we're not adding this into the episode?
No, this part I'll add.
Oh, okay.
So part of manipulating the manipulator, but also one-on-one on how to apologize, use people's words, not against them, but back at them. So when someone says something about why they're upset at you or what it is, literally take what they said, change a few of the words, repeat exactly that back to them, and say, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have done exactly what they said, blah, 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 blah. It's totally my fault. I'm going to improve from this. I'm so sorry. And like, and this is the best part. What can I do moving forward to ensure that this won't happen again?
That's so good.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add.
I know that was
So
really good. Yeah.
Another thing, kind of on this, but kill them with kindness. Like, it doesn't pay to be mean ever. you look back and you regret the way you acted. And for me, I don't like when people can like talk bad about my actions. I just feel better knowing that I acted in alignment with myself, and that is being kind.
So with killing them with kindness, personally, I hate when I'm in the wrong. Like it irks me when I do something wrong, and I usually not that I don't do things that are wrong because I know I do, but I usually can get out of it or like I'm pretty good with my words in that sense. But when I do something wrong and I get so upset with myself because I can't then backtrack. Um so in those moments, I find that the reason I can get myself out of them is because if you ever have to apologize, as I had mentioned, just kill them with kindness. Like, it takes no effort to be nice to someone, even if you don't mean it. I don't mean it half the time. Like, people just want to, again, they just want to be heard. They just want to sound like they were important. They were right. Everyone loves being right. I love being right. So just give it to them. And then go back home and talk shit to your fucking friends and your notes app.
Yeah. And a lot of times, if people are coming at you aggressively and you respond with kindness, like that will piss them off.
Yeah, they look like an idiot.
Yeah. And it's just the best way to go. You stay calm. And like, also, like you said, when you do something wrong and you're really hard on yourself, also be kind to yourself because people make mistakes and it's okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I think that was 10, maybe 9, but our last little bonus is that nothing is really that deep.
nothing.
That's why we named our podcast It's Not That Deep, because we're always going to talk about things that are important and meaningful and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take your life too seriously. It's all going to be okay.
Have fun, laugh at yourself, laugh at everyone around you, have fun with your friends, joke around. It's not that deep, it's never that deep. Life's what you make it. So let's make it rock. I know, I was waiting for you to say it too. Anyways, we love you. We're so excited to start the podcast and hopefully bring you episodes every week. And if you have any comments, let us know. We would love to hear them. We love you all. It's never that deep.